But yeah, now that the story is over, let's give our final thoughts on Book of Shadows. Like I said, it was actually a really interesting touch, actually, to use Rongen 6 as the backbone for the first 7 episodes, more or less. Well, maybe, well, a majority of them.
To say whether they happened or not to any degree is hard to say.
Well, it's
But,
alternate universe, dude.
well, either way, there is some continuity to it, so.
But that is that, but also expanded on many of the characters that were out of focus. And, of course, there's also the fact that, well, it just goes to prove that Sachiko is not that merciful at all.
So,
This game proved that she is incredibly vicious.
yeah, considering in the previous game she actually stayed in the background.
And yes, I know the video is over, but we're still talking anyway.
Yes. She stayed in the background for the majority of the last game,
But no,
except for a few points.
Book of Shadows is where she really reveals her personality as well as her murderous tendencies.
Yeah, which is fitting considering, though it still makes it that much harder to feel sympathy for her when, well, she does those kind of things. Albeit, I'm going to be honest here, if I made like a top 10 like sympathetic character or villain list, like video game wise, she'd be number 1
I know.
by a mile.
Right up there with her mother, too.
Number 2 though would be Albedo from Xenosaga.
Well, that's a whole nother story, but
Yeah, but still.
but overall, I actually really liked the first 2 games overall. I mean, sure they had some flaws, but even so, the story writing, the storytelling was pretty solid, and it was pretty good in execution.
I think with the first game, I think probably my biggest problem with it was that there were some points that got more or less railroaded and hijacked by...
Then again, it's always going to be like that.
Well, yes, but my point is it was kind of railroaded and hijacked in the first game with Ayumi getting possessed.
Then again, it's supposed.
And then there was Yuka's potty time.
Then again, it was supposed to be that way.
Even so, you know, I'd like a little less of that. I mean, the possession thing, it works. Fine. I can roll with that one. Since we know what Ayumi truly is now. I can roll with that. I just don't want to, you know, drag out a chapter of sorts. I like, if anything, you know, expand on the later chapters and make more chapters. Give us more gameplay.
Well,
I mean, like, character-wise, I mean, albeit, you know, I have my own certain likes and dislikes. I mean, most of the characters were engaging and fun, and you really didn't want to see them go, especially, like, in the first chapter, you know, considering that Seiko's on the cover of the game with Ayumi, but she's the first to go.
well, Naomi, you mean?
Well, Naomi, well, yeah, but... They're almost somewhat... They're not interchangeable, but, you know, I always...
But then again, it still proved that she actually had impact in the storyline.
Yeah, and, you know, with Book of Shadows expanding upon that, it made her a much better character. And she wasn't a bad character to begin with in the first game either. Though, to be fair, she was the one that got more of the spotlight compared to Morishige, Mayu, and Yui. But at the same time, you know, this game kind of redeems that factor. Because oddly, you know, Yui's events actually happened. To a degree.
You know, not to mention that, like I mentioned to you before, Book of Shadows was more or less just an expansion to what happened in the original.
And it's basically a what if that I imagine that fans sent questions about how this could happen. And I could just imagine the creators just like, yeah, here's my response. I could just imagine every time that, you know, somebody dies, there's just a giant middle finger on it, just like, ha ha!
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, yeah, but still, the thing was, a lot of the things that, like, I thought about after, you know, the playthrough of the first game, were answered in this game to a general extent. Though we still haven't really quite understood why Naho's blog still exists.
That, or what truly created Heavenly Host in the first place. But then again, I still have my suspicions that Yoshi may have done it.
Yoshi, or maybe... Yeah, Yoshi would probably be that one, or somebody else of the Shinozaki clan, or perhaps another bloodline.
But then again, considering the circumstances, it would have to be Yoshi.
Maybe... Wait, what?
Well, then again, this is all speculation on our parts. We're probably...
Yeah, this is basically us letting our thoughts through. Music-wise, you know, while I did... Music-wise, this game is great, other than the fact that I kind of don't understand why some of the tracks use trance and... infusion. I don't know what they were thinking there, but...
Does it really matter?
Well, I'm not saying that they're bad tracks, I just find them off-putting. The rest of the tracks in the game are excellent. It's just, you know, one or two of those tracks are just kind of like...
For example?
Was it... I think it was in Chapter 5 when they were playing that.
Oh, right. The remix of the main... more or less the track from PC98.
Yeah.
Actually, the second Wing BGM, like I said before, was also that.
Yeah, so...
As well as Ray of Hope.
Yeah, Ray of Hope, at least, it makes more sense because, you know, it's pretty much pumping you up for the conclusion. So... It was only those two tracks I really had an issue with, but they weren't really bad.
That's odd, considering you like the second Wing BGM.
Well, yeah, I did too.
But
I still do.
I still like the Chapter 5 theme itself. Because it really gives you that sense of, this is it, it's the beginning of the end.
Yeah. Even though it does change tracks a few times, though, doesn't it?
Well, it did. It changed from that track to Ray of Hope.
Yeah. So... Let's see.
Well, but
I mean,
as for the soundtrack to this game, it was.
Well, there were a few reused ones.
The new tracks themselves were pretty solid in their own right.
Yeah, they were pretty excellent, I thought.
I think two of my favorites. Well, obviously the piano tunes, but they're actually Elegy and the track from Blood Drive.
And this is where GM randomly comes in and goes, "Piano by itself is worthless." GM, no, please.
Anyway, as I was saying, there was Elegy from. Why am I starting to hear myself thinking I'm echoing? Anyway, there's Elegy from that started in episode 1 when Seiko confessed.
Oh yeah, that was a beautiful track.
That's odd, considering I thought that it was repetitive at first.
Well, it was repetitive when you had me listen to it, but it worked for the scene and the mood.
Mm-hmm. And then there was the track known as A Friend's House, which played in Blood Drive, the prologue.
Oh.
Yeah, that track that played when Ayumi confronted Naomi about trying to talk to Seiko's siblings. That really touched me. It really added to the futility of it all.
Which, it just seems like that's kind of what Corpse Party is built on, is trials of futility and trying to overcome such adversity when all else is pretty much what's that word? What's that word to describe kind of a pressure?
I'm not sure.
Shit. Oh. I forgot the word.
And whatever it is, actually, I'd say the first game had a much more effective soundtrack than the second one.
Yeah. Though, to be fair, they did reuse tracks from that game to Book of Shadows.
Well, reused, not rearranged, though.
Yeah. But then again, you know, they were kind of sticking with kind of a somewhat limited budget of a visual novel, so...
Well, that they were using the reused tracks as mostly for cutscenes.
Yeah, so... graphics-wise, while I'm not going to, go, this was a 1080 HD. No, shut the fuck up, you idiot. That's in my card. Well, get out. Anyway, graphics-wise, for game made on RPG Maker, I'm impressed at the amount of detail that they did with it.
Well, it was, with a more updated version, obviously.
Even so, they put some goddamn good effort.
Yes, they did. Especially, they actually put a bit more effort in the original, considering that they had a couple extra wrong ends in Chapter 5.
Yeah.
As well as a few other sprites that didn't get brought over to the PSP remake.
The reason why... I gotta admit, the sprites are extremely, they well represent the characters. You can actually tell their animations, their looks, and
that and their portraits too.
Yeah, the portraits are excellent. And
not to mention, it's kind of funny that they actually just saved those newer portraits for Book of Shadows.
Yeah, which, kind of like Mega Man 2 did with its assets from Mega Man 1. A lot of the stuff from Mega Man 2 was from Mega Man 1. That didn't get used on the floor.
Right.
So, while Book of Shadows, it's a visual novel, but, I think, this kind of goes with the gameplay of, you wandering a bit and, trying each, floor if you're doing this blind. I think that'd be kind of repetitive, but, it still conveys, the cerebral nature of Heavenly Host.
And on that
note, and to us, it's effective.
And on
and it's oppressing. Yes.
Yeah, I think that was the word. But in that note, actually, I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but yeah, in BloodCovered, we did get to play Tooth as an extra chapter. And it did have it did have RPG Maker gameplay.
Yeah,
which I think translated better into the visual novel aspect.
Yeah. Though, the fact that they were able to do that with RPG Maker, and I think this is something that I think a lot of people, like with Blood Drive, have with the chibi-like sprites. Or the character models.
I was just about to get to that, actually. I don't understand what the hate is with that.
The thing is, I don't think they quite understand, why they made this decision. Okay. You notice how, the characters in this game have a very simplistic, I guess you could say, a very simplistic, modern, kind of moe kind of design look. It's, all the characters are kind of basic, but they're all, with a nice sheen of coding. And, kind of represent, kind of the contrast between the environment that they came from to the environment of Heavenly Host. In a way, I think the chibi character models for the Vita version or for Blood Drive will be quite effective in conveying the very same message that you don't think is going to work, even though you've already done it before. You fools!
Seriously.
Because, there are other games that have used contrasting character designs or areas to basically make you expand and, really get into the world as a whole. Though, whether I could come up with them off the top of my head is another issue entirely.
Well, it's just... Well, going off of that, I am hoping that Blood Drive will actually live up to the success of Corpse Party as well as Book of Shadows.
I think my hope is that it surpasses Book of Shadows and maybe just stays on par with the first game. I'm not saying to be the same, but I want to be at that kind of same level of tension.
What?
I want it to be at that same level of tension.
Well, I just hope it doesn't suffer from your typical thing regarding trilogies, that the third one's gonna be the worst.
Not all the third ones are the worst.
I'm not saying all of them do, saying there tends to be a pattern with some series. Some, but not all. I know. It's just like in movies, for example.
Well, to be fair, usually the third game is usually the one that brings out the best elements of what the other two achieves
I know it's just that
and succeed.
I know it's just I have a fear of that possibility happening where it just falls short. Then again, I don't know for sure unless I actually play. I don't know. I don't know for sure unless I play for myself.
Adam, honestly, usually the third title for me is usually like it for me. Usually, when it comes to the third title, it's usually that game that becomes the basis for the other games later on in the series. Even though sometimes some of the series will change in that regard.
I'm not talking about overall full-on series. I'm talking about just trilogies.
Yeah, though.
I mean, trilogies that stand alone.
The original Star Wars, I guess.
Well, yeah,
Return of the Jedi.
Or I hate to say this, but the 13 trilogy.
You had to go there.
No,
I was thinking more along the lines of, like, hell, this is actually something that Capcom generally, it's usually with Capcom, the third game is usually that game changer. Albeit there's been one exception to that rule.
And that was?
Dino Crisis 3.
Actually, that is what I was referring to in regards to...
Yeah. I was referring to, like, Devil May Cry 3.
I know, it's just...
Mega Man 3.
I know, I was referring to...
I'm not counting X3.
I was referring to instances where the third game is the worst. That's what I was referring to.
But that seems to be kind of very few and far between. Like, say, Onimusha 3.
I know, but the possibility always exists.
If they're going to set it up similar to the first game... I think the only problem that they'll have in general is maybe the storytelling that they're going to go with for that game.
It's just
how they're going to go about it.
I know, it's just as is. I have no idea what will happen. It's just I'm hoping that it'll at least give us some closure.
Me too, because having the ending end on a was not exactly something that I was like. I was kind of prepared, but at the same time. It took me off guard.
I know, it did for me too.
I'm just like, holy shit. I'm just like, did Kenshiro come in the room and do that?
No.
He can't do that. He pokes you on the head and all of a sudden your gray matter is expanding and then you go.
Well, then again, at that point you're already dead.
but
I
mean, overall, I probably won't be playing Book of Shadows.
Probably not.
Instead, I'll just rewatch our playthrough and watch my over-exasperated responses.
Exaggerated, not over-exasperated.
Yeah, even though before you guys ask, and I know some of you people have got kind of aggravated by some of my that is my natural response. There is some exaggeration. I'm not going to deny that, but what happened at the end of the prologue? That was real. You can't take that back. I do admit there were a few performances that we had, but that was mostly due to retakes. But that was mostly so I could stay in the groove and still keep it going, keep the flow. So. You guys are all aware.
Yeah, because those were beyond our control, obviously.
Yeah, especially Skype fucking dying, Audacity fucking dying, Sachiko cursing at recordings.
That or blackouts on my end.
I actually had the internet die for like a day for me.
Yeah, but actually, and one last thing, I know some people are angry at me. Some people might be angry at me for changing the track in Chapter 5 of Corpse Party. It's the track that was originally in BloodCovered, but, I don't give a damn. I mean, because the original track that was used in the PSP remake, sure, you get a lot more feels from it, but I didn't. I think it was rather unfitting. I actually liked it. I liked the track, but I don't know.
It just didn't seem like the right thing to play at that time after you found out everything that transpired in the ending.
Yeah, there was also another reason why I think the previous track in the previous version of the game was a lot more fitting, because, well, it was a melancholic arrange of the Chapter 1 BGM, which did focus on Naomi and Seiko.
Kind of a bookend there, I'll say.
That's why I chose it.
It's fitting.
Anyway, I'm looking forward to Blood Drive. And of course, by the time of this recording, it will be uploaded on the day of Blood Drive's Japanese release.
And maybe by then, maybe before Blood Drive comes out, I'll actually have Corpse Party Repeated Fear done.
Perhaps. Who could say?
Hey, I'm on Chapter 4. I'm looking for tongues, man.
I don't blame you, dude. I'm just saying, this as long as you can hold out.
I think I can. I'm prepared. It's just I'm trying to find the damn tongues. It's just... I was not lying about the fact that I saw double Rio people. There was actually 2 Rios while I was playing my PSP Vita.
Wait,
playing.
Actually, I don't think we had a discussion during recording.
Oh, okay, but
anyway, as he was trying to say, while he was playing Chapter 2 of Repeated Fear, he ran into 2 versions of Rio.
And they all can still kill you.
Yeah, turns out he got a flawed downloaded copy.
Not really flawed downloaded, because like after I tried again and again, it was just one and I got through.
But
I think it's mostly because, as I said, I think the PS Vita actually overclocks the PSP games. Because I've seen how fast that damn thing runs with Persona 3 Portable. It is almost instant. I can imagine that would probably have a few bugs with, Corpse Party, but having to try dodge 2 Rios ain't happening. You're gonna get fucked.
Yeah, but overall, I think this was a hell of a ride. Actually, the first 2 games. I actually am looking forward to the third one.
Now you're just hoping that you could get PS Vita TV, so then you can record Blood Drive.
Or something to that extent. I wish I could have that.
I think it's not going to be that high price.
If I could, I just imagine I could actually do 2. I could actually do 2 other Vita games if I could.
Persona 4 Golden.
And actually, a game called Conception 2: Children of the Seven Stars. Actually, I actually would like that game, despite the bad ratings it got. And oddly enough, it was developed by Spike Chunsoft, who of course did, what was it? Danganronpa.
Yeah. There's another game that I also had started playing. It's called Mind Over Zero, that had the same issue. Mostly because, once again, they just kept comparing it to Persona, and then they just kind of gave up doing the review.
Well, they did. I think they did some with Conception too. But overall, I like the fact that we're going off topic, but I don't care. But I think Conception 2 was definitely it's a fun RPG, a bit on the easy side, but still decently fun to play.
Yeah, it doesn't take itself that seriously at all.
Which is they changed the pace for JRPGs. If you can, people play it on either 3DS or the Vita. I actually have both versions. Don't ask me why, I just felt like it.
Oddly, speaking of, let's see, Exceed also, they also published a little-known series known as Senran Kagura.
Yeah, I saw...
It's a very fan-servicey, ecchi show, but it's mostly all done in good fun. It doesn't take itself seriously whatsoever.
Yeah, I noticed...
I imagine Conception 2 kind of has that kind of thing to it.
It does,
well,
but...
I played a bit.
It does, but not to that degree, I think.
No, especially, I think, during, like, even the developers admit that they accidentally made some things a little more perverse than they expected.
Innocent innuendo, that's what it is.
Not really innocent, was, one of the games was a cooking game.
I was referring to Conception 2, actually.
Well, yeah, but, with, Senran Kagura, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, if I'm not, you could flame me in the comments, whatever, we like comments. The director, or whoever the game designer was, Like, for the cooking segments, he's like, they should get splashed with chocolate syrup. And then he realized the mistake they made. He's like, I'm keeping that in. He's like, that's hot. And they're totally shameless, though, but, they're happy with what they do. They're not like, that guy. Fucking Toriyama. If I find you in a subway or a men's bathroom, I will shank you with a pair of scissors. and then I will promptly stuff lightning returns up your ass! Along with 13. And then I'm just going to beat you to death with 13 too and go, why did you get this one right? Even though the story was stupid! Fail!
Anyway.
Next time, don't take hints from George Lucas! Die!
Anyway, with that, we are pretty much done with Book of Shadows and the original Course Party. Well, hopefully you guys, if you get a chance, play these games, have fun with them, and hopefully enjoy the third game.
Yeah, and if you feel like buying a Vita, which Vita's actually starting to pick up some steam here, kind of like the PSP is. Mm-hmm. Though I'd say wait for another price drop. Just saying. But at the same time, the Vita games are so ridiculously cheap now, it ain't funny. It might actually be worth it to get a Vita over a 3DS just because most of the games right now are in the $20 range, with the exception of new ones.
Right.
So, let's see. I suppose I got another game I could recommend. Demon Gaze by Nipponichi Software, which I think is actually a good beginning dungeon crawling RPG. And I'm actually going to be checking out Criminal Girls Invite Only. And as you know what, I don't care if they actually censor it, because I honestly think that if they didn't, they wouldn't have been able to get the game out in the first place. So take that as you will. At least we're getting the game. If you have still a problem with that, fan translate the PSP version, wank off to, the Moe. Oh god, and etchy characters that you want to. I mean, knock yourself out. But there's a search engine on every browser. Just enter porn. You're done.
Anyway, I think at this rate, I'm just gonna make this its own part, separate from the Soulful Testimonies.
Yeah, I think we might. Or even though I'm not sure if Audacity can take it anymore.
Probably not. But anyway, thanks for watching the Book of Shadows playthrough as well as Repeated Fear. I hope you had just as much fun as we did.
Yeah, I hope you guys had fun too. This was a nice change of pace, if all things considered, despite how fucking horrified I am of the fact that I thought this was a good idea.
Well, I thought it was a good idea. I wanted to get back to my roots.
Yeah. Speaking of roots, Resident Evil.
I might actually do a redux of all the games I covered, because I'm just not satisfied with what my old performances.
Though we're still going to keep some of the performances that we had in the previous ones, because
maybe
some of them are quite classic.
Well, maybe, but
we're keeping Resident Evil 3, aren't we?
I don't know yet.
You better. That was probably my opinion.
I'll probably do it in montage form. How about that?
Well, or at least that, because that was probably my opinion one of my favorite Resident Evil playthroughs next to 4, even though 4 we were just bullshitting off our ass. But
besides, I mentioned too much theorizing about 6 that was later disproven.
Yeah.
Which I'm embarrassed about.
Yeah, but then again, you could also put like a caption in the thing. This was like way before.
I tried. I don't know if people will buy that. Anyway.
Well, if not, then they'll have to buy it for $1.
I guess.
I can't help it. I want the RoboCop joke in there.
Okay. Anyway, with that in mind, we're just dragging it on for the sake of dragging it on. Anyway, see ya later down the line for another run.
Hands up, creep, and keep watching our playthroughs.
Please, we could use the love. Not that way.
What is love?
I did-
Tommy hates unsubscribed. Actually, Adam, you didn't notice, but we got like on your account, we got like 500 subs now.
I'm actually surprised. They're steadily increasing, slowly but surely.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get there. We'll get there. It's gonna be a long haul. I mean, we gotta deal with brain scratch and hellfire.
Well, let's not go there, please. I don't want to compete.
Well, we're not going for drama, but the thing is, they kind of stole our gimmick.
Of what?
Being unprofessional as fuck.
I try to be professional, dude.
Well, yeah, but you know,
I try to go for a balance.
Yeah, and I think we actually kind of had it. I think we actually had it with this one.
Well, recently, yeah.
Yeah, this was nice change of pace as opposed to what's behind the door. It's a zombie.
Or just our other performances overall before.
Yeah. So
And my performances in my recordings, but overall. But anyway, that's it for us.
Anyway, see you all next time for whatever rolls down the pike. Yeah, nah.
Sayonara.
Bye bye.